I've been very slowly building this building in my backyard, and it's time to make the door. But this video is not just about making a door. It's about clarifying the stories that I like to tell. Let me show you how I'm going to make this custom door. These areas will be glass ultimately. It'll all be black like this one. I've seen custom doors go for $10,000. I think I'll probably have about $1,500 in this. These are 1x6s. There are 3 layers of 1x6s. Off camera, I cut 1x6s into 2 overlapping patterns and glued them together, making a very strong door frame. Total cost 12 1x6s, $120. These stories have always been about trying to make beautiful things, but there's always been a subtext. I try to make things at a reasonable cost. Maybe that's because I'm cheap. I come from a very cheap family. We changed oil and fixed things and built things to avoid paying someone else to do it. For example, this is the 1977 280Z I restored just after I got out of architecture school. That's me with my favorite green sweater. Maybe architects wear black because they just have a terrible sense of color. Anyway, I've always liked sports cars, but I didn't have enough money for one, so I more or less built one. But when I think it through a little bit more, I think the culture of making things and fixing things is about having a sense of agency, about wanting to make your own world with your own hands, as humans have done for thousands of years. There's a sense of accomplishment you get when your labor results in something real, something that works that didn't work before, something that exists that didn't exist before. There's a joy in making our own world. It's not a new joy, it's an old joy. My door was too thick for standard handles, so I just set it in. After all this time, it's just awesome to open up the door. If you have an extraordinary amount of resources, you pay others to do the work. If you do not have extraordinary resources, you must be careful with the resources you have. And you might even do some of the work yourself. But when you say words like architecture or art or fine furniture, the amount of resources required is just not part of the story. As I reflect on the architectural history classes I took, they were in essence a history of extraordinary resources. We spent months studying medieval cathedrals. A cathedral takes about 100 years to build and pretty much all the money that a pope or a king can squeeze out of the people. Not once did we see a well-built home for the average medieval person. I seem to use sealant the way I use wood glue. I put on way too much and then just have to clean it up later. Another example of our focus on extraordinary, or maybe it's the media's focus on extraordinary. Maybe extraordinary things just make better stories. Or maybe extraordinary stories are just better for business. For instance, there are lots of woodworking videos about walnut slabs with epoxy infill. They're very cool videos. I watch them. The fact that most of us can't afford a $20,000 table is irrelevant. Or maybe it's all about fantasy. Maybe it's just about wishing you could have a $20,000 table. And if we dream of it long enough, maybe we'll buy that $20,000 table. I mean, you just gotta max out a credit card, right? Yeah, I think making us want things beyond our means is good for business. It's gotten kind of cool today. The plan is to clean up all this excess sealant and paint the door and then oil the inside. Ultimately, everything on the exterior will be black with the exception of the cedar rain screen. That's the idea. So 6 pieces of insulated tempered glass was $1,200. Yikes. This is just a preview for the next video when I do the rest of the windows. But this one big window was in the way, and luckily my wife helped me to set it so that it wouldn't break. To continue my rumination on excess and walnut tables, I can tell you I don't dream of a $20,000 walnut table. I know walnut slabs and gallons of epoxy are expensive, but I want a good table, and maybe due to the YouTube influence, I wanted a walnut table. So I built this walnut table for about $250. Point is, when I designed the table, I set out to make something beautiful at a reasonable cost. And in essence, that's what this content is about. So I have decided to more clearly share the cost of the things I am making, as well as comparisons of what those things might cost if I just bought them or commissioned a craftsman to make them. Oily rags can catch fire, so I just burn them. I would guess a 42-inch wide door with a 180-degree opening and multiple pieces of glass and a transom would cost $10,000 to have someone build it. That sounds like a lot, but I got that information from AI, so it must be true. I also asked an amazing craftsman I know, and he said my estimate was probably low. Early on in my architectural career, I realized cost can be crazy. I was an architectural intern in a little design firm that I thought was the best in Charlotte. Nights and weekends, my wife and I were building our house. At my day job, I was detailing a huge mahogany front door. The building was for drug dealers, so they had a lot of money. They did not want others to know how much money they had, so the cost of the building was secret. Apparently, there's a lot of profit in handing out grants to pharmaceutical companies. After the door design was finished, I got a glimpse of what it would cost. That front door cost more than the entire house my wife and I were building. Even today, that strikes me as odd. Costs can be crazy. So my magnetic tape measure went missing. I couldn't find it anywhere. Apparently, it found a buddy. The door frame was trimmed out with 1x6s, and the window frames 1x2s, and there were doorknobs and weather stripping and paint and oil. All in, the total cost of the project was $1,505. I just love the way the white paint leaves a hint of the plywood pattern below. So this is it from the inside. It's been trimmed out. There's weather stripping. There's trim around these windows. Of course, I've used black screws. I think it looks great. There's one thing that I would certainly do differently. When I put together the main door, I put together in a way that the power nails are visible on this side. And if I would have just thought about it a little bit more, I could have put it together in another way where the power nails were visible on the painted side. This has been filled, but you still kind of see them. I find them a little bit distracting, but you know, it is what it is. I do the best I can. You will see all this 2x4 framing. That's part of the final building. So this is the finished condition. And I have 2 test panels for the interior finish. It feels pretty good. It's pretty well sealed. So the test panels, this one is basically, if I take pine plywood, just oil it with hard wax oil. I think it's cool, but I'm a little bit worried that this pattern is just going to get a little much inside the building. I'm not sure that's going to move forward. I like the painted version. It's just a brighter, more calm. I think the contrast with the 2x4s is really nice. And I'm sort of studying whether it should have black screws or silver screws. I kind of think this piece wants silver screws. They're not quite so in your face. That would mean that there's kind of a rule that when it's natural wood or when it's black, it would have black screws. When it's white, it would have the silver screws. And I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to go with. You see, I have a split personality. I'm a well-educated architect who has designed expensive, award-winning buildings. Yet I'm also very thrifty. At times, I'm an idealist who believes only quality matters, like my professors. At times, I'm a thrifty realist, like my father, and like Thoreau. In essence, this content is about mediating between those two worlds. If you want good things, if you want to live in good spaces, but you don't have millions of dollars, we're in the same boat. If you do have millions of dollars and want someone to design an amazing building for you, give me a call. I hope you will enjoy and find some value in these stories. Can high-quality, beautiful, enduring things be created at a reasonable cost? That is the question in all of these stories. You can answer it for yourself. Sometimes, I might make something that you feel is worth the cost of the resources used. Sometimes not. There will be failures. The first thing you learn about doing things yourself is that there are failures. But talking about money is dangerous. Dollar figures are intoxicating. We so quickly get lost in the numbers. If you want to get someone's attention, just say 52 billion. There doesn't have to be a context. It could be 52 billion grains of sand on the beach. It is the number itself that gets our attention. At some point, who cares? If you don't believe my numbers are absolutely accurate, you're probably right. The exact dollar amount is not very important to me. It's just a measure of the resources used. The bigger question is, was it worth it? Good design should elevate the worth of the resources employed, in my opinion. And yes, my stories are about design as well as making. Can design be economic? Not cheap, not extravagant. As Goldilocks might say, just right. So this is one of my favorite parts because I'm just crazy. I love fun little rituals. That's an important part of our daily lives. And opening a door, having something to keep it open, I don't know. It's just fun. Well, here we are. It's finally done. I'm really happy with it. I mean, I think it's just a beautiful door. It's got a wonderful weight to it. It seems sort of like a simple door with glass in it, but I think it's really nice. It feels nice. I've sort of blacked out this, which is similar to what, the building will be, kind of a preview. So I want to show you the rain screen in a little bit more detail. This isn't the final version, it's sort of a test. One thing I'm testing is whether I should black out these vertical pieces. You might be able to see that this is just treated wood. This has been blacked out. I think this is kind of cooler than this. And bottom line, this is more difficult, and I seem to be a masochist, so I'm always going to do the most difficult thing I can do. So this will probably be, the final answer. When I say rain screen, it simply means that it's siding with a space behind it, so air moves and the wood can dry out, as opposed to being flat up against the sheathing. This door Maybe it would have cost $10,000 to get a craftsman to commission it. Is it as nice as if you had done that? No, it's something I've put together with the skills that I have. But, you know, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's pretty cool. Cheers.